Have you ever noticed how the more you think about someone, the more tired you get? The harder you try to make sense of it, the more confused you become. And the more you want to let go, the deeper you get pulled in. It's not because they have some kind of magic power over you. It's because a part of you is holding on to their image to avoid looking at yourself. And what you're paying for that? Your peace of mind. When we can't stop thinking about someone, what we're really facing are the forgotten parts of our own inner world. The desires we haven't acknowledged, the darkness we haven't named, the deep pattern that's waking up inside us. Jung believed that every time your mind gets stuck on someone, it's your subconscious knocking on the door, telling you there's something unfinished inside you. We think we're obsessed with them, but the truth is, we're running from ourselves. In the psychological journey Jung described, only when we take back our projections, put others back in their real place, and look straight into our own hearts, can we find inner freedom again. Have you ever felt stuck thinking about someone even when you wanted to stop? Drop a comment below and share what that felt like. Your inner world becomes clear when you're brave enough to turn around, put your hand on your fear, and really see it for what it is. And it's right in that moment that the door to the deepest part of who you are starts to open. So what is it that really ties you to someone? And what's waiting for you on the other side of that obsession? In today's video, we're going down into the deepest layers of your mind, where your subconscious whispers, where projections speak, and where you can see yourself more clearly through the shadow of the person you can't stop thinking about. This isn't just an explanation. It's a journey to unlock the soul within you. Stay with me, because what you're about to hear might completely change how you see every connection in your life. Number 1. The burden of overthinking. There are days when you don't understand why your mind keeps going back to the same person, like a song stuck on repeat, even though you've tried to turn it off a long time ago. The more you want to escape, the more the thoughts wrap around you, holding on tight like invisible ropes tying you down. The burden isn't in that person. It's in letting them live in your mind for too long. Jung called this a misdirection of mental energy. Instead of flowing into taking care of yourself, your energy gets sucked into an image that keeps repeating endlessly, like a quiet whirlpool strong enough to pull you under without you even noticing. Overthinking someone is like carrying a backpack you can't even see. Every thought adds another rock. Every time you ask, why did they do that? Another rock. Every time you replay an old conversation in your head, yet another rock. By the end of the day, you feel heavy and exhausted, but you have no idea how much weight you've piled on your own shoulders. Your body gets tired right along with your mind. Your heart races, your breathing gets shallow, your body tenses up like a guitar string pulled too tight, and you think it's all coming from them. What's one thought loop you keep replaying? Let us know in the comments. You're definitely not alone in this. But really, it's from the process of wearing yourself down with those endless spinning thoughts. In psychology, this is called rumination. It's a repetitive way of thinking that doesn't solve anything. It just traps your mind in a loop you can't escape. The more it spins, the tighter the circle gets. The tighter it gets, the harder it is to break free. But from Jung's point of view, rumination isn't just a bad habit. It's a signal that your subconscious is trying to send you a message your conscious mind refuses to hear. Overthinking someone isn't just caring too much. It's when a part of you gets triggered, a part you don't fully understand, a part you want to avoid but can't. The other person is just the trigger. Your reaction is what needs to be faced head-on. Imagine your mind as a softly lit room. Every person you think about leaves something behind in that room. The one you love leaves a nice scent. The one who hurt you leaves a scratch on the wall. But when you overthink someone, you let them build a huge chair right in the middle of the room and sit there all day long. You can't walk anywhere without seeing them. You try to focus on something else, but their presence seems to follow you everywhere. It's not because they're actually there. It's because you've blown their presence up to an unbearable size. Your mind isn't a space you control anymore. It becomes a room where you quietly tiptoe around the shadow of someone who doesn't even know you're thinking about them. There are everyday examples that seem small, but show this burden way too clearly. Say you text someone and they don't reply right away. An hour passes. 2 hours pass. Nothing happens in real life, but in your mind, a whole dramatic story unfolds. Assumptions, questions you turn inward. Did I say something wrong? Am I not interesting enough? Are they pulling away? They might just be busy, sleeping, or driving, but in your mind they become the main character in a psychological drama where you're the writer, the actor, and the audience all at once. Jung once said that we see the world not as it is, but as we are. Overthinking proves that. You're not reacting to reality. You're reacting to the version of reality your mind creates. What's even more telling is that this burden isn't just emotional. It's about how you tie your self-worth to their behavior. Overthinking makes you start measuring yourself by their responses. A text from them brightens your whole morning. A cold word ruins your entire day. If they seem distant, you decide you're not good enough. If they're warm, you take it as proof you matter. You hand them the keys to your emotions without even realizing it. The more your mind clings to someone, the more you lose the ability to stand strong in your own life without needing validation from anyone else. In Jungian psychology, this is called the contraction of the ego. When your ego weakens, it can't hold its center anymore. It gets pulled toward whatever it's fixated on. You're no longer standing at your own center. You're orbiting around them like a planet around the sun. This shift doesn't just drain you, it erodes your sense of who you really are. Instead of asking what you need, you ask what they think. Instead of exploring your real feelings, you search for clues in their actions. Mental energy gets tied to them like an invisible cord, and the tighter it pulls, the more it hurts. Jung believed that thinking too much about someone is a sign we've lost connection to the self, the deepest center of who we are. The self holds power, clarity, and intuition. When we overthink, we're not just drawn toward them. We're drawn away from ourselves. It's like wandering in a dark forest, staring at a light from a distant house, until you forget the way back to your own path. The most dangerous thing about overthinking isn't the thinking itself. It's believing every thought is true. Your mind throws out an image and you treat it as fact. It creates a fear and you treat it like a prediction. It exaggerates a behavior and you see it as a message. It all happens in your head, but your body reacts like it's happening in real life. You hurt from pain that isn't real. You fear something that hasn't happened. You get exhausted from conversations that only exist in your imagination. And in the end, you lose your clarity. The burden of overthinking isn't that the person is too important. It's that you've given their image power over your emotions, your rhythm of life, and your energy. You can't see that burden with your eyes, but you feel it in your heart, in your body, in every moment you try to live while your mind drags you somewhere else. Your mind is truly light only when you reclaim your center. And to do that, you need to understand what's hidden behind this obsession. Because overthinking never happens randomly. It always leads you to a door that's waiting to be opened. And the first door is the mechanism of projection. Number 2, projection, the mechanism that keeps you from letting go. Here at SYC Soul, we explore the hidden mechanisms of the mind that keep us trapped in patterns we don't understand. Projection happens when your mind takes a buried part of yourself and puts it onto another person. They become a blank screen for your soul to project the things you haven't been brave enough to face directly. What draws you to them isn't how unique they are. It's that they touch a deep, shadowy part inside you. What you see in them is really what you haven't recognized in yourself. Imagine looking through colored glasses. Everything outside gets tinted by those glasses. When you look at other people, you think you're seeing them clearly, but really, you're viewing them through the colors of your own subconscious. And those colors are often the emotions, desires, longings, or wounds you've pushed to the bottom of your soul. You're not loving that person. You're loving the image you've created. Have you ever realized you were seeing someone through your own lens? Comment below and let's explore this together. You might meet someone who makes you feel peaceful. Just a few words from them and you feel lighter. You think they have some strange healing energy, but in reality they might be completely ordinary. Maybe not even that interested in you. That peace you feel doesn't come from them. It's the peace you've lost in yourself. You see in them what you can't find within. You give them credit for it, but it's really you. Or you meet someone who hurts you more deeply than usual. They say one thing and you think about it for weeks. They go quiet for a moment and you create 100 different scenarios. You think they're the cause of your pain. But from Jung's view, it's not them hurting you. It's an old wound inside you that they accidentally touched. So the pain feels fresh all over again. The most striking thing about projection is how it traps you with someone for so long, even when logic tells you that you should let go. Because what you're holding on to isn't them. It's the unresolved part of yourself. If it's hidden expectations, you'll keep waiting on them. If it's fear of abandonment, you'll hold on tight. If it's an old wound, you'll try to prove your worth. You don't stay for them. You stay for the wound that's asking to be healed. As Jung once wrote, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Projection is like watching a movie but forgetting you're the projector. The characters on screen can make you cry, laugh, hurt, and remember. But that image comes from you. If you turn off the projector, the screen goes blank. The person you overthink is the same. If you pull back your energy, their image returns to its real size. The deepest pain of projection is that you not only misunderstand others, you also misunderstand yourself. You think you truly love that person, but really, you're loving a part of your soul that's searching for the light. Think of someone you've projected onto. What part of yourself were you really looking for? Share your insight below. You think you need them for security, but really, you need the security you've abandoned in yourself. You think you're attracted to them, but that attraction comes from unresolved pieces of your subconscious. And if a name pops into your head right now, you might want to write it down somewhere, on paper, in a note, or even in the comments below. Not to call them back, but to see clearly how much of yourself you've invested in that name. And because projection is so powerful, you can't escape someone just by stopping your thoughts, distracting yourself, or trying to let go. You can't run from them because you're running from yourself. Once you stop and look at the part of you you've projected onto them, the connection between you weakens on its own. Not because they change, but because the image of them in your mind changes. Projection is the mechanism that binds you. But when you understand it, it becomes the door opening to freedom. Because in the end, you're not truly stuck with anyone. You're just stuck in the parts of yourself you haven't identified yet. And when you start seeing those parts, the person you've been fixating on suddenly becomes clearer, smaller, their real size. Only then are you truly free. Number 3. When the ego is dominated by the shadow. The mechanism of projection explains why you see buried parts of yourself in others. But the next question is even more important. What makes you unable to control your reactions? Unable to shut off the thoughts? Unable to stop at the right moment? This is when Jung's shadow steps out from behind the curtain. The shadow isn't just the part you don't want to see. It's also the invisible pull that can drag your ego away from its center, drawing you towards someone more powerfully than logic alone. And when the shadow takes over, you no longer see the world through the eyes of awareness. You see it through the forgotten corners you've abandoned. If projection is like a projector casting inner images onto others, then the shadow is the power source fueling that machine. When the shadow rises, it doesn't ask if you're ready. It just pulls. And your ego, more fragile than we imagine, can easily slip from just a small emotion, an old wound, or a seemingly harmless word. Your ego desperately wants to believe it's in control. But the shadow knows that much of your mental life lies beyond your ego's reach. A very everyday example: you're living steadily, confidently, kindly. Then someone shows up and casually ignores you once. Your ego says, "No big deal, it's normal." But your shadow whispers, "They abandoned you like that before. Watch out." From there, even if you try to act calm, your mind fixates on them more than it should. You want to know what they're thinking. You notice every tiny sign. You overinterpret everything. Has your shadow ever whispered fears that completely took over your thoughts? Tell us about it in the comments. Not because they're important, but because your shadow has been activated. It won't stay quiet anymore. Jung once said, "Everyone carries a shadow, and the less it is embodied in the individual's conscious life, the blacker and denser it is." The shadow isn't just fear or wounds, it's also the hidden strengths you've neglected for too long. When you're overly drawn to someone, the shadow might be trying to bring up energies you haven't dared to tap into. Vitality, desire, boldness, freedom, independence. But because your ego isn't used to facing those energies, it avoids them. And that avoidance funnels all your energy into the triggering person instead of turning inward. Someone once shared how they became obsessed with a stranger online just because of their look. A vague image, no name, no history. But it haunted their thoughts endlessly. If you asked what made them special, they couldn't answer. Because really, that image didn't belong to the other person. It belonged to their shadow. Something caged for too long and needing just a spark to ignite. When the shadow's in control, every emotion becomes excessive. A small sign turns into a big story. A slight distance becomes a spiral. You think you're looking at them, but really you're staring at a part of your soul that's been asleep for years. The scariest part is that when your ego is pulled off center, it doesn't know it's been pulled. It thinks it's all real emotion, real love, real pain. Jung said that when the unconscious goes unrecognized, it becomes your fate. When the shadow directs your ego, you're no longer reacting to reality. You're reacting to memories, fears, desires, expectations, all the things you haven't dared to name. Imagine the shadow as a dark room you always keep locked. Inside are the parts you've denied: jealousy, the need for attention, the longing to be loved, insecurity, anger, weakness. What part of your shadow have you been avoiding? Share your reflection below. It's a step toward freedom. When someone enters your life and accidentally touches that door, the shadow cracks open and everything spills out. Your ego can't hold it back, so it hangs your attention on that person to avoid facing yourself. This is why you can't escape thoughts of them. Not because they have power, but because you're afraid to face what's rising up inside you. The shadow also creates the illusion of uniqueness. You think only that person makes you feel this way. Only they hurt you this deeply. Only they make you anxious, hopeful, tormented. But this is the shadow's trick. It convinces you that the triggering person is the source of the emotion. The truth is, anyone who touches your shadow point could trigger the same intensity. It's not them who's special. It's the part of you you've hidden for too long. So a light touch shakes you to your core. When your ego is dominated by the shadow, you're no longer living your own life. You're living the life of unhealed fears, unaddressed desires, forgotten parts you won't face. You become more sensitive, more vulnerable, more prone to obsession, and you think it's real emotion. But real emotions never drain you like this. Only those from the shadow leave you this exhausted. The truth is, your ego doesn't need to conquer the shadow. It just needs to see it. Because darkness is only strong when you turn your back on it. When you shine a little awareness on it, the shadow no longer leads. It becomes part of you, no longer demanding payment through obsessions. You'll feel lighter, more intentional, clearer. You won't get swept into someone just because they touch a wound. You stand firm in yourself and from there connect to others. Number 4. Archetypes and the mental trap. When the shadow is illuminated, you begin to see clearly the unconscious parts that once pulled your ego away from itself. But there's another force, deeper, more ancient, more powerful than the shadow. A force that Jung called archetypes. Archetypes are spiritual patterns living in the collective unconscious, operating beyond time and beyond conscious control. They don't just touch you, they shape the way you resonate with someone. So obsession doesn't always come from wounds or fears. Sometimes it comes from an ancient image waking up inside you. Archetypes work silently, like melodies you don't hear but dance to anyway. When someone shows up and matches that melody, your mind immediately recognizes them on an unconscious level. You find them familiar, right? Close in a way you can't explain. You think it's intuition, but often it's just an archetype being activated. It's like a secret door swinging open inside you, revealing deep images your ego has never faced. Have you ever felt an unexplainable connection with someone from the first meeting? Comment below and share your story. And right now, before we continue, try taking a deep breath. If there's someone who ever made you feel familiar to an unexplainable degree from the first meeting, ask yourself, does that feeling come from them or from something inside you trying to be remembered? Imagine every person you meet is like a key, but not every key opens an ordinary door. Some keys unlock rooms inside you where archetypes sleep. When someone matches the archetype you carry, the mother, the father, the lover, the child, the warrior, they immediately become larger than their real-life selves. You see in them not just the person, but the emotional history of humanity you've inherited. So you don't just remember them, you remember the archetypal image they awaken. For example, you meet someone gentle and understanding who listens to you in a way you've never been heard before. You feel they're very special, but can't explain where the specialness comes from. Very likely they've awakened the anima or animus archetype in you, the ideal feminine or masculine quality your soul is looking for. You're not loving that person. You're loving the qualities you've always wanted to have in yourself. But because the archetype is so strong, you blend the two together. You think it's fate, but at its core, it's just your mind finding the missing part of yourself through someone else's silhouette. Or you meet someone confident, decisive, strong. They walk into the room and you immediately look up. You feel drawn in, but that pull doesn't come from them. It's from the hero, warrior, or king archetype inside you. That strength already exists in you, but it hasn't been fully lived yet. The other person is just the mirror reflecting it back. You're not fascinated with them. You're fascinated with the power you haven't dared to activate. Sometimes you meet someone who makes you feel like you need to take care of them, heal them, stay by their side at any cost. You think it's selfless love, but it might just be the caregiver or mother archetype at work. Which archetype do you think has been guiding your connections? Let us know in the comments. You're not truly loving them. You're restoring the nurturing instinct that was wounded in your childhood. You want them to stay, not for them, but because you haven't fulfilled your own archetypal role. Archetypes create mental overlays that make you exaggerate others, seeing them with a depth they sometimes don't have. And this exaggeration is the trap. You no longer see them as they are. You see them as symbols. The other person might just be an ordinary human with light and shadow, but the archetype in you turns them into an icon, a myth, the keeper of a key to part of your soul. So you can't stop thinking. You're not obsessing over them. You're obsessing over your archetypal image through them. It's like watching a movie in a dark theater. You know the actor isn't the real character, but when the lights dim, You let yourself believe the story. With archetypes, it's the same. The unconscious turns off the lights of consciousness and projects strange patterns onto the screen of the other person, making you believe there's something more important, deeper, more fated. But it's the unconscious's game, and when you believe it too much, you fall into the mental trap. You build an entire story that the other person doesn't even know they're starring in. The danger is that archetypes don't just exaggerate others, they diminish you. You stand lower, smaller, weaker. You think they hold the missing part you lack. And when you believe that, you immediately hand them power. You wait for them to validate you. You wait for them to fill the void. You wait for them to ignite the dormant archetype inside you. But the truth is, that archetype always belongs to you. No one can give you the parts you already carry inside. Have you ever given someone power over your emotions without realizing it? Share your experience below. Look at a familiar example. You meet someone who makes you feel whole. With them, you see a better version of yourself. But when they leave, you feel like you've fallen to the bottom. It's not because they brought the light. It's because they reminded you of the light in you. When they go, you think they're taking the light with them. But that light is yours. You've just not gotten used to seeing it without someone else activating it. Archetypes are the foundation of the soul. But when unrecognized, they become traps. You easily mistake spiritual resonance for love. You mistake emotional activation for destiny. You mistake a chance meeting for the one. And Jung reminds us, the unconscious never jokes. It brings you the images you need to face. But if you cling to the person carrying that image, you'll lose yourself. So the root isn't them. It's the archetype inside you thirsting to be seen. Number 5. Why does thinking more hurt more? Archetypes may make you exaggerate someone in your mind, but it's the pain that keeps you holding on longer than you realize. And strangely, that pain doesn't come straight from the other person. It's from the process of trying to hold on to something that doesn't belong to you anymore. The more your mind grips, the tighter your heart squeezes. And when that squeeze lingers, it turns into the ache you call pain. You think you hurt because of them. But really, you hurt from the war between two parts inside yourself. One that wants to hold on and one that's tired enough to walk away. The pain in repetitive thinking is like a wound that's not allowed to heal. Every time you recall them, you tear open the fresh scab. Every time you rewind the story, you dig up the old hurt. You don't give your soul a chance to mend. Does overthinking keep reopening your wounds? Tell us in the comments how you're working through it. The scary thing isn't the first wound, it's how you make it bleed again every single day with thought loops you can't stop, like someone poking at a scar just to see if it still hurts. You keep bringing your mind back to the injury, just to remind yourself it hasn't healed yet. Pain grows when you resist reality. Jung once said, "The root of most suffering lies in refusing what is happening." The moment you try to keep everything the way you want it, you set your mind against a battle you can't win. Reality stands still while you're torn apart by the resistance you create. You're not hurt by that person. You're hurt by your own expectations. A very everyday example. They don't text back. You check your phone 10 times an hour. Every time there's nothing, you feel a little sting. But that sting doesn't come from them. It comes from the story you tell yourself. Maybe they don't need me. Maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe I've lost them. The pain isn't in their silence. It's in the hundreds of interpretations you layer onto it. Your mind hates empty spaces. When information is missing, it fills them with tragic stories. And then you believe your own creation, hurting over something that isn't even happening in real life. Another reason you hurt is because you're battling questions without answers. Why did they change? Did they ever love me? What did I do wrong? Those questions create endless loops. You look for answers in the world, but reality is silent. You look for them in that person, but they're gone. You look in your mind and it just spins exhausting theories. Pain comes not because you don't know the answer, but because you're forcing yourself to know something unknowable. It's the pain of powerlessness, the pain of trying to hold sand in your fist. The tighter you squeeze, the emptier it gets. What unanswered questions have you been holding on to? Share below. Sometimes naming them helps release them. Sometimes you hurt because your mind hasn't let go of what's dead. A relationship, gone. A beautiful image, gone. An imagined future, gone. You don't hurt from losing them. You hurt from losing the version of life you painted with them in it. That's the pain of unconscious collapse. You don't just lose them. You lose a life script you'd invested so much hope in. And that collapse always leaves a huge emptiness, leaving you drifting in what's left. Thinking more hurts more also because you're seeing the situation from a place of powerlessness. When your mind fixates too much on someone, you let them hold the keys to your emotions without realizing it. You wait for them to decide if you should be happy or sad. You take their reactions as your roadmap. But when you put your happiness in someone else's hands, you've set yourself up to lose from the start. No one can live when their soul is outside their body. No one can find peace when others define their worth. Pain also comes from the fragmentation inside you. One part wants to move forward. One clings to the past. One knows you deserve better. One still wants to hold what's gone. When these parts pull you in opposite directions, your mind stretches tight like a string that's been violently plucked. And finally, you hurt more because you want the pain to end immediately. But emotions don't disappear on command. They need to be seen, acknowledged, moved through. When you try to suppress the pain, it sinks deeper and comes back stronger. When you try to control your thoughts, they rebel and flood in like blocked water. The only way to stop hurting is to go through it, not around it. So pain isn't the enemy. It's a sign that something inside you is waiting to be understood. Are you ready to stop running from the pain and start understanding it? Comment your thoughts below. So how do you reclaim your energy? Jung didn't talk about the unconscious in abstract terms. He always emphasized the journey back to the self through awareness and conscious practice. Withdrawing energy from someone doesn't mean cutting them out of your life or turning your heart to stone. It's a gentle but steady process of bringing the part of your mind that's clinging to them back to you. And this journey always starts with a small gesture, turning your gaze inward instead of outward. Thank you for joining me at this point in the journey. If what you've just heard touches somewhere in your heart, stay a little longer. The next part will be specific practices, simple but powerful enough to completely change the way you withdraw energy from someone and return it where it belongs, to you. And if you want journeys like this to continue in the future, a like or channel subscription from you is enough to let me know you're still here, listening, and ready to dive deeper into your inner world. Number 6. Practices for withdrawing energy from others. The first practice comes from recognizing energy leaks. Every time your heart tightens because they don't reply, every time your mind replays the old story, every time you wonder what they think of you, pause for a moment and ask yourself, which part of my energy is flowing toward them right now? Just asking this question cuts through the unconscious flow and brings the light of awareness in. Realizing you're giving energy to someone is the first step to getting it back. Consciousness is like turning on a light in a dark room. When you see clearly what you're doing, you're no longer being pulled blindly. Next, practice bringing your attention back to your body. When your mind obsesses over someone, it flies up into your head, spinning, building 1,000 stories. But your body always lives in the present. Try feeling your palms, the breath flowing through your nose, the rise and fall of your chest. What practice helps you bring your attention back to yourself? Share your tips in the comments. When you direct attention to your body, You pull it away from the mind's screen that's projecting their image. No one can overthink while truly feeling their body. This is a subtle way to draw energy from your head back to your body, where reality always lives. Another practice: name the real emotion instead of the story. When you think of them, what you often feel isn't them. It's the emotion they trigger. Fear of loss, fear of abandonment, fear of not being good enough, fear of being replaced. Instead of asking, "Why did they do that?" ask, "What am I feeling right now?" One question, but it turns you from them back to your own center. You don't analyze, justify, or explain. You just name the real emotion: sad, hurt, anxious, disappointed. When you sit with the real emotion, their image fades, and you stop chasing them to avoid what's inside. Another effective method: return the story to its owner. Your mind loves to personalize every action of others as a message to you.